Although Starfleet and the Federation would realize that the fleet as it existed in 2340 had become outdated, the solution, constructing an entirely new generation of starships to replace the outdated vessels, would not be made overnight. A significant amount of groundwork would have to be done as the plans for what was intended gradually grew in scale. Initial plans for the project were modest in their ambition, intending to put a large number of new ships into service based upon the most recent designs, these being the Korolev and Rigel class cruisers, as well as their smaller derivatives. But, as work on the project began, several innovations and breakthroughs would be made which promised the new ships much greater performance, efficiency, and overall capability. Key among these innovations would be the introduction of isolinear circuitry, a new, modular, decentralized computer architecture which promised much improved calculation speed, efficiency, and operational flexibility than even the most advanced deutronic systems which had been used reliably aboard Starfleet vessels for over a century prior, with great success and reliability. The inclusion of isolinear circuits and the greater computational power this permitted allowed the new generation of ships, then in the early stages of their development, to make use of yet more technologies and innovations, which promised yet further gains in performance and operational capability. As the complexity of the program spiraled, many in Starfleet and the Federation General Assembly realized that the cost of the program, from a time, manpower, and resource standpoint, would be astronomical, likely requiring the nearly total overhaul of much of the Federation's existing infrastructure to construct, build, maintain, and operate the new ships. Soon, concerns over the cost of the project would grow, and calls for a scaling back, as had been done many times over the past 60 years, would be made by the budget-conscious in Starfleet and the Federation government. However, unlike prior rounds, this go-round those supporting the project had the upper hand. With much of the fleet being as old as it was, existing infrastructure was oftentimes even older. With many starbases dating from the 2250s and 60s across the Federation, they had been built to accommodate much smaller ships from a bygone era, as well as far fewer ships overall as well. And since Starfleet's average formation size had ballooned in the period since then, this had been an ongoing issue that had been worked around previously, but a better solution was wanted. Further adding to the strength of the pro-modernization faction in the government was the realization of the age of Starfleet and the existing supporting infrastructure of the Federation by the members of the Federation itself, who began to publicly voice support for a modernization and expansion of the fleet. In short, a perfect storm of circumstances and technology would combine to bring what had initially been planned as a straightforward plan to build a few more new ships, ballooning into a Federation-wide expansion, modernization, and improvement plan for not just the ships of Starfleet, but an overhaul of the shipyards, fleet bases, logistics hubs, and academies which supported it, with the Federation's civilian and mercantile infrastructure, which trade and communications relied on, was also further modernized and overhauled. What this meant practically was that for the development of their new ships, bases, shipyards, and other vital organs, Starfleet would have an unlimited budget available. And as plans began to solidify, Starfleet had every intention of using that budget to its fullest. Into this storm would enter the Utopia Planitia fleet yards of Mars. First constructed during the Romulan-Earth War of the 22nd century, Utopia Planitia had served as a research and development facility for much of its life, aiding in the development of vertical stack reactor designs in the 2270s, photon torpedoes in the 2250s and 60s, transporter technology refinements to the understanding of warp field dynamics in the 2220s. The list goes on for some time. Despite this impressive list of accomplishments and contributions to the continual improvement of space travel, the complex had always been rather small, with a planet-based laboratory complex and attached geosynchronous orbital complex above to handle most tasks. Utopia Planitia had been generally well-equipped during its lifetime, and was respected within Starfleet's engineering and science division. However, the fleet yards were aimed more at development and testing of technologies rather than construction of new ships, meaning that very few vessels had ever been built there in the history of the yard. This would change, though, as the New Class program, as it was officially known, began in earnest during 2348. With the decision made to base the development of the technologies and basic designs of the new program there, in preference to the long-established hub of the San Francisco fleet yards orbiting Earth, which at this time had been judged to have become too small and crowded due to the volume of traffic passing through Earth orbitals, as well as the demands for space there. In fact, over the course of the New Class program, Utopia Planitia and San Francisco would practically swap places, with the former becoming the leading shipbuilding center for the entire Sol system, while the latter became the center of research and development for new classes and technologies moving forward within Starfleet. Unveiled by Starfleet late in the year, plans for the new construction at Utopia Planitia were staggering in their scope and scale, with slipways and space docks for over 50 new ships being planned, as well as fabrication facilities in both space and on the Martian surface to produce components, testing facilities, control and coordination centers, repair facilities, laboratories, research labs, and large accommodation blocks for the thousands of workers for the planned new yards, all built to the latest ideas for the mental and physical well-being of the yard's personnel and their families being planned. This construction being intended to last for much of a decade. Starfleet would stagger the work at the new yards, drawing construction over several years and doing so in multiple stages, planning the work in such a way that the development facilities for the design of the new ships and their technologies would come online first, allowing them and their attached teams of specialists to get to work so that by the time construction on the shipbuilding facilities had concluded, designs would be prepared and ready for the prototyping and testing phase to begin. In 2350, the first tranche of these design teams would be established, DT1 through DT32, each team being tasked with specific aspects of ship's design features as well as technologies, with teams DT3, 4, 6, 11, 15, and 17 falling under the broader authority of the Galaxy-class development project, and tasked with designing specific aspects of the ship. For the task of designing the new forms of warp propulsion systems, Design Team 7 would be assembled, with its members comprising some of the best and brightest experts in warp field dynamics and warp field shaping, both practical and theoretical fields. Among these members, the young Leah Brahms would be assigned to the team shortly after receiving her degree from the Daystrom Institute with honors. Initially just a junior member, the promising young doctor would quickly find herself running most of the team, being placed above many of her former instructors who were also working on this new project. Because the Galaxy class was to be the flagship class for the entire New Class program, Design Team 7 found themselves taking the lead for the development of the new designs of warp engine to be used by the ships of the program, a task which Brahms found herself well suited to, being as she was at the leading edge of knowledge in the field. She and her team conferred with those teams assigned to other ships and propulsion teams, relaying changes and alterations to their designs as issues emerged and issues were remedied. And these other ships, especially those which entered service before the Galaxy class, would in turn provide much valuable flight data that could go into refinement of the Galaxy herself. This arrangement would be repeated many times throughout the development of the New Class program, with various teams in oversight positions listening to feedback and making alterations as needed prior to lesser ships' construction and fielding, so that the greater whole and quality of the ships could be maintained at a very high level. The first fruits of the new class program, the Yorkshire class of transports, would enter service in 2351 in a gradual fashion, with their new technologies tested extensively so that any changes needed could be introduced to other designs rapidly before any of the more important classes of the program were in service. Much to everyone's immense relief, and as a clear evidence to the work put in by all teams, the Yorkshire class would have little issue once in service, and construction of other ships would move forward swiftly, with more classes entering service in stages over the next 15 years. Although problems with several classes would be experienced over the next few years, the promising start of the new class program, informally known as the Galaxy family, would do much to assuage the fears of many in the Federation, who worried that the jump in capability of many of these ships put them in danger of flying too close to the Sun. Furthermore, the work done to the Federation's infrastructure would put that government in good stead for the challenges it faced in the 2360s, 70s, and beyond. Thank you for watching this video. It's been a little while since the last one because of shenanigans. Also, I'm recording this on a different microphone than I've used before, so let me know if you notice any problems with audio quality. Assuming that you didn't and it sounded fine, I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, comment, subscribe, things that much better YouTubers than me are always telling you to do. So naturally you do it, right? Also, the artwork used for this video and all my videos is on Patreon. You can follow the link below. Artwork for videos is completely free on Patreon. So if that's something that you would be interested in, you can definitely find it there. Oh, and also before I forget, this video is going out a day later than I usually do. So it's about 8 days late. Apologies. That's just how things worked. Yeah. So it's been chaos here, and yeah, I'm a new video going out. Also, next week's video was going to be on the Victory class Star Destroyer, but instead is going to be a redone version of the Constitution class heavy cruiser review. So that's going to be coming out next week, hopefully. I should be able to record audio later, but I've got stuff going on, so hopefully that's done. Yeah, all that being said, thanks for sticking around to this point. A brownie point to you, I guess, if you did stick around to the end of the video. I don't know, let me know in a comment that you got a brownie point. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. You could. I mean, that would be pretty cool to read. From my end, at least.